I stopped answering knocks at my door after what happened that winter. Not because I'm antisocial, not because I'm paranoid, but because on December 14th, at exactly 1:42 in the morning, someone knocked on my apartment door while I was completely alone, and security footage later proved nobody had been in the hallway. The police told me there had to be an explanation. Faulty cameras, exhaustion, anxiety, but they never explained why my neighbor across the hall vanished that same night. Or why, before disappearing, she called me crying and whispered, "Don't let it inside." I was 24 at the time, living in a cheap apartment complex in northern Ohio, just outside Cleveland. The building sat near an empty industrial district where most businesses had shut down years ago. During winter, the entire area felt abandoned, especially at night. The apartment itself was small but manageable. One bedroom, narrow hallway, old radiator heating that clanged loudly whenever it turned on. The walls were thin enough to hear neighbors arguing or TVs playing through the night. But that week had been unusually quiet. Too quiet. Most tenants had gone home for Christmas early, and a snowstorm was moving through the state. Thick gray clouds hung over everything for days. By evening, freezing rain coated the roads in ice. I remember watching weather alerts on TV while eating takeout alone on my couch. My girlfriend had gone to visit family in Michigan, and I'd stayed behind because of work. I stocked groceries, bought beer, planned to spend the weekend gaming indoors while the storm passed. Simple, normal, but around 10 p.m. the building started feeling wrong. It began subtly. The lights in my kitchen flickered twice while I washed dishes. Then my Wi-Fi disconnected. I reset the router, but nothing changed. Outside my windows, snow blew sideways beneath orange streetlights. The parking lot looked empty except for one dark sedan parked near the entrance. Its headlights were off, but the engine was running. I remember staring at it longer than necessary. Something about it bothered me. At 10:37, my phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Melissa. "You hear that?" I frowned. Melissa lived directly across from me. She was in her 30s, quiet, usually polite but distant. We'd only spoken a handful of times. I texted back, "Hear what?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. No response. A few seconds later, I heard it myself. A sound from somewhere upstairs. Dragging. Slow. Heavy. Like furniture being pulled across the floor. The apartment above mine was vacant. I knew that because maintenance had been renovating it for weeks. The dragging continued for nearly a minute before stopping abruptly. Then silence. No footsteps. Nothing. I stood there listening harder than I should have. The radiator hissed behind me. Wind rattled the windows. Then came a loud metallic bang from somewhere in the hallway outside. I actually jumped. I opened my apartment door halfway and looked out. The corridor was empty. Flickering fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The stained carpet stretched toward the stairwell in both directions. No movement, but the air smelled strange. Wet. Rotten somehow, like damp cardboard left in a basement for years. I shut the door immediately. That uneasy feeling stayed with me afterward. I turned the TV volume higher to distract myself, but little things kept happening. My phone battery started draining unusually fast. The lights dimmed every few minutes. I kept hearing soft creaks from the hallway outside my bedroom. At one point, I could have sworn someone walked past my front door slowly enough to make the floorboards groan. But when I checked the peephole, nothing. Just empty hallway. By midnight, snow was falling heavily enough to bury the parking lot. That black sedan was still outside, still idling. I couldn't see anyone inside. At 12:18 a.m., Melissa knocked on my door. Hard. Fast. When I opened it, she looked terrified. Her face was pale, eyes red like she'd been crying. Before I could even ask what was wrong, she said, Have you seen the guy upstairs?
Ist daher?
There's nobody upstairs. That's what I thought. Her voice shook badly. She kept glancing down the hallway behind her apartment like she expected someone to appear. I asked what happened. Melissa swallowed hard. I heard footsteps above me for the last hour. Then somebody started knocking on my bedroom wall. She laughed nervously after saying it, like she realized how insane it sounded. I remember trying to calm her down. Probably maintenance workers. At midnight, I didn't answer. Then she said something I still think about constantly. I looked through my peephole 10 minutes ago. She paused. And there was a man standing outside your door. A cold feeling spread through my chest instantly. What? He was just standing there facing your apartment. What did he look like? I don't know. Tall. Dark jacket. She lowered her voice. I thought maybe he knew you. I looked toward the peephole behind her. The hallway remained empty. Melissa rubbed her arms nervously. Then she whispered, "Don't open your door again tonight." Before I could respond, she hurried back into her apartment and locked the door. I stood there for several seconds listening to the silence. Then I noticed something strange. The elevator at the end of the hallway was open, completely empty. Its light flickered weakly inside. I don't know why that unsettled me so much. Maybe because our elevator usually closed automatically after a few seconds. But it stayed open the entire time I watched it, like it was waiting for someone. I went back inside and locked every lock I had. Around 1 a.m., the storm knocked out power across the building. Everything went black instantly. The TV died. The heater stopped. Even the humming from the refrigerator vanished. Silence filled the apartment so completely it felt unnatural. Outside, wind screamed through the parking lot. I used my phone flashlight to navigate the apartment, but the weak beam barely lit anything. That's when I heard footsteps overhead again. Slow, measured, crossing directly above my living room. I felt frozen in place. The apartment upstairs was empty. I knew it was empty. Then came another sound. Knocking. 3 soft taps. From inside my apartment. Near the bedroom. I turned slowly toward the hallway. Darkness swallowed most of it. My flashlight trembled in my hand. Another knock. Closer this time. I whispered, "Hello." No answer. Then my phone rang. Melissa. I answered immediately. She was crying. "I think someone's in my apartment." My stomach dropped. "What?" "I can hear breathing." Static crackled through the call. Then I heard it too. Faint. Wet breathing. Not from her phone. From somewhere inside my own apartment. I spun around with the flashlight. Nothing. But the breathing continued. Very close. Melissa whispered, "He keeps knocking on the walls." Suddenly there was a loud bang over the phone, followed by screaming. The call disconnected instantly. I ran to my front door and yanked it open. The hallway was dark except for emergency lights glowing dim red near the ceiling. Melissa's apartment door stood slightly open. I shouted her name. No response. I crossed the hallway slowly. The smell hit me first. That same damp, rotten smell. Stronger now. I pushed her door open wider. Her apartment was empty. Lights out. TV still running silently. Front window open just enough for snow to blow inside. But Melissa was gone. Then I noticed the hallway leading toward her bedroom. Wet footprints covered the floor.
Bare footprints.
Large. Leading deeper inside. I backed away immediately. That's when I heard movement behind me. I turned. At the far end of the apartment hallway stood a man. Tall. Completely motionless. His face hidden in darkness. I remember one detail clearly. His head tilted slightly to one side, like he was studying me. Neither of us moved for several seconds. Then the emergency lights flickered, and he was suddenly closer. Not walking, just closer. Panic hit me instantly. I ran from Melissa's apartment back into the hallway outside. The entire building felt dead silent. No doors opening.
No voices.
Nothing. I sprinted toward the stairwell. Behind me, I heard slow footsteps following. Not running, just walking. Steady, calm. I shoved through the stairwell door and nearly slipped on concrete steps. The lights inside flickered violently overhead. Halfway down, I looked up. Someone was standing at the top landing watching me descend. Still motionless. Still silent. I ran faster. When I reached the lobby, the front entrance doors were wide open. Snow blew through the building in freezing waves. That black sedan was parked directly outside. Engine still running. Driver's door open. Empty. I stumbled into the parking lot, slipping on ice, barely able to breathe. Then I looked back up toward the third floor. Melissa stood at her apartment window, motionless, her face pale against the darkness. Relief hit me instantly. I shouted her name. She didn't react. Then lightning flashed across the sky. For 1 second, the entire building lit up white, and I realized the figure at the window wasn't Melissa. It was too tall. His face looked wrong somehow, stretched, smiling. Then darkness returned. The figure was gone. Police searched the building for hours that night. They never found Melissa. No signs of forced entry. No footprints in the snow outside her window. Nothing. The apartment upstairs was completely empty too. No workers.
No furniture.
No explanation for the footsteps. 3 weeks later, police reviewed old security footage from the building hallway. At 1:11 a.m., Melissa entered her apartment alone. Nobody followed her inside. Nobody ever came out. But at exactly 1:42 a.m., every apartment door on our floor opened slightly at the same time. All except mine. Mine opened slowly about 10 seconds later. By itself. And before the footage cut to static, one final thing appeared at the end of the hallway. A tall figure standing perfectly still outside my door, looking directly into the camera.